change has come to America.
Believe it.
Help is on the way.
The Democrats are the party of pedophiles. The Democrats are the party of princess predators from Disney. The Democrats are the party of teachers, elementary school teachers trying to transition their elementary school age children and convince them they're a different gender. This is the party of their identity, and their identity is the most disgusting, evil, horrible things happening in our country. And that's why we have to say it. We have to be willing to say it, and no matter how many little blue check marks get their feelings hurt on Twitter.
Bitch, please. Really. This is exactly the kind of thing she thinks she needs to say in order to get voted back into Congress, right? To her QAnon-loving followers. The idea that you could tell them that there's a long, long list of GOP pedophiles that, exist and existed, it doesn't make a difference.
The fallout keeps growing tonight over the surprise indictment of former House Speaker Dennis Hastert.
Remember
the allegations that Hastert was willing to pay millions to cover up sexual misconduct with a male student have shocked many, especially in Yorkville, Illinois. That's where Hastert used to coach and teach.
A male student when he was a wrestling coach there.
Huh.
It's odd, isn't it? The Republicans never bring up Dennis Hastert, who was accused of child sexual abuse, when they're talking about the apparent cabal of pedophiles in the government.
Right.
Or former Republican Congressman Mark Foley, who, of course, resigned in disgrace after he was caught sending sexually explicit messages to teenage boys who worked his congressional pages. Or failed Republican Senate candidate from Alabama, Judge Roy Moore, who leading Republicans, including Trump, defended after he was accused of pursuing sexual relationships with teenage girls while he was in his 30s, including one girl he pursued while she was 14 years old and he was 32, after they met at the courthouse where her mother was appearing for a child custody hearing.
Oh, God.
Think about that. Now, he denies this, but I leave the word for that kind of behavior, again, if it happened, maybe you believe Roy Moore, is grooming. Right-wing media closed ranks around Moore. The Federalist even ran an op-ed defending his conduct as alleged, writing, quote, "To have a large family, the wife must start having kids when she is young.
What?
The husband needs to be well-established and able to support the family, in which case he will typically need to marry when older."
Yes.
Again, a 14-year-old at her mom's child custody hearing getting hit on, allegedly, by a 32-year-old prosecutor outside the courthouse.
Yes. What about all those people? What about Fat Denny Hastert? The reason why they never bring up Fat Denny Hastert is Denny Hastert was a lobbyist for Turkey, by the way, for years and years after he was, the longest serving Speaker of the House for the Republican Party. I mean, it's just so incredible. It is an amazing thing how the memory hole just eats up every pedophile that ever served in the Republican Party. And, listen, religious leaders, they're not exempt either.
Or, I don't know, here's another example. How about the time that Tucker Carlson decided to defend Warren Jeffs, the fundamentalist cult leader, currently in prison for child rape?
Yeah.
Carlson said that he's in prison for his, quote, weird and unpopular beliefs, like the forced marriage of underage girls. He was convicted of 2 counts of felony child sexual assault. Tucker thought that was unjustified. Actually, right now, there's a sitting member of Congress on the House Judiciary Committee, Republican Matt Gaetz, who is reportedly under investigation, federal investigation for sex trafficking an underage girl. That's, again, something he denies. And, innocent proved guilty. Hasn't even been charged. But again, if you're a party that's super, super, super keyed into this, you might be a little worried about that, right? Maybe have a little conversation with them. What's going on there? Oh, yes. And Tennessee Republicans have a bill they advanced today, that would, and I am not making this up, and I didn't believe it when I thought so, but I actually read it through, to eliminate any minimum age requirement for marriage. Right now in 2022, right now it is a minimum of 17 years, and they're going to just get rid of the minimum age.
Right.
Now, if Democrats did any of these things, like that Tennessee bill, the right would lose its collective mind, and it would call them groomers and pedophiles. But of course, again, this is all bad faith. There's not an actual interest in protecting children here. It's not motivating it, which is part of what makes it so disgusting, because children do need protection. But this is a disgusting and cynical attempt to render the political opposition essentially as hateable as possible, as sort of irredeemably evil, like the worst thing you could be. It's loathsome, and they know what they're doing.
They do. It's called propaganda. It's called I know you are, but what am I? It's called, the 180. It's called making black white, making up down, going through the looking glass. It's called bamboozling the people all the time. And they don't hope to convince all the people all the time, just most of the people some of the time. And that time is election time. And that is why they do this. That is why they do this. To disorient people, yes. To make people believe it, of course. But literally to give people a cushion saying, everybody's horrible. I don't need to vote. I don't need to vote. Low voter turnout benefits them. This is why they are the voter suppression people, the voter repression people. Everything they do with the government is for the purpose of repression and to enlarge the role of government in your life. What you say, what is spoken in a classroom, what is taught in a classroom, what religion is acceptable and what isn't. Now they're lowering the age of marriage in Tennessee. I wonder how Marsha feels about that. This is Marsha Blackburn sitting there screaming for a week at Ketanji Brown Jackson, screaming at KBJ for an entire week about pedophilia. And now her state has made child marriage okay, literally legal.